This is TWiT.
GPUs? Is this a GPU story, Jeff?
It is a GPU story. And, you know I talk a lot about having Team Green video cards, but I'm not a fanboy of any hardware. I root for all teams so we have good competition and drive prices down and innovation up. But, I am known for running a lot of Team Green video cards because there's certain requirements that Team Red doesn't have for me. But, I'm rooting for Team Red to, really bring it to Team Green. They need some comeuppance, and rooting for Intel as well. But my story today is about Team Red and their new FSR 3.1 being announced with Vulkan support. So FSR stands for FidelityFX Super Resolution. So this is a method of upscaling video. The short version for the non-gamers is the higher the resolution of your game, the harder it is to render frames in a game. So to have a good gaming experience, you want more frames, so there's less jerking and stuttering in the motion, and you have a smooth gaming experience. Upscaling is just like it sounds. To get quicker frames in the game, the video card will render a frame in lower resolution, and then with algorithms, and I don't know if you'd call it AI in a formal sense, but it scales up frames to the higher resolution that you're playing at it and then displays it. So for example, if you're running a 2K monitor, maybe the frame is rendered in 1080p and then upscales it to your 2K. So it can actually render everything faster. Now we have 3.1, which is announced, that will bring even more quality improvements along with less flickering and shimmering and less ghosting and better detail preservation. While FSR 3.0 was Direct 3D 12 focused, 3.1 is Vulkan focused. Now the Xbox Game Development Kit will now support FSR 3 on Xbox games. So with Vulkan API support in 3.1, that opens up the possibility that some Linux native games, seeing support. So if Xbox games are developed with FSR Vulkan, it makes for an easier port. The link in the show notes also has a link to the official AMD announcement, which lists games which are taking advantage of 3.1, and they'll give a few visual examples of older FSR screenshots and videos side by side with the new version, so you can see the different changes and see the quality improvement and the smoothness improvement. Now, FSR does work with VRR, which stands for variable refresh rate. So in fact, they recommend that you have a variable refresh rate monitor while using FSR to make the experience that much better. So what a variable refresh rate monitor does is it changes the refresh rate based on when the frames from the graphics card are ready. So you don't get any tearing, and it makes for a smoother transition. You don't have either half frames, or you don't have a frame that's held too long because of you're waiting for the refresh rate. So it makes a better gaming experience overall, at least at lower frequencies, like below 60 hertz. It's not so noticeable faster than that. Mm-hmm. When you take a look at the show notes, there's a summary in there. Link to the GitHub repository where you can get a list of changes, like how they've changed the optical flow and frame interpolation, among other things. So for those real diehard techies out there that want to really get into the code, the link to the official AMD announcement also has links which will give more explanation to the FSR technology. So, you never know, in the future, I might have a Team Red graphics card. We'll wait and see. And if the rumors based on the next generation or anything, it's sounding like they might be some powerhouse cards coming.
Yeah, definitely interesting stuff, and love to see it coming out as open source. Makes it easier to implement. I guess one thing I'm curious about is there any future in trying to do something like running the FidelityFX on an NVIDIA card? Is that even something that works? Can you do FSR on NVIDIA?
I believe you can, but whether it, I don't know how it compares off the top of my head to the NVIDIA solution. So I know they're working a lot with the AI type stuff to try to optimize their algorithms for various games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know historically the NVIDIA version of this, I forget what they call it, but the same thing, the upscaling is for the longest time, it was a lot better over there. Be interesting to take a look at it and see what it looks like for AMD. But very cool. Okay, now, yes, Ken.
Just going to ask, you think VKD3D and DXVK will ever work with this version of FSR3?
Oh yeah, it definitely will. Well, no, and you know, even as funny as that sounds to ask, it will, because the FSR is on top of that stuff. So when you have improved rendering, all that does is going to make it even better for the FSR. So maybe instead of, say you have a 4K, well, you have a 4K display. Maybe instead of having to render at 1080p, you can now render at 2K because of the improvements in the programs you mentioned, or the libraries. And now by having a 2K render, you have that much less interpolation that you have to do to scale it to 4K. So it totally works. And they talk about it works with other frame rendering technology.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I kind of poked at that about will it work on NVIDIA, because I think these technologies, it gets built into the game engine itself. It's not something that happens at the driver level.
If you enjoyed what you just saw, well, there's more of it. It's all over at twit.tv, or just click in the description and you can get links to this very episode.